Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. With me, as always, is Mark Goldhart. I got to figure out a way to say that different. I don't know why, like, every time I say it, it seems just weird. But I think it's, maybe lame. Less weird,
Super
more
lame.
Maybe I need to listen to more podcasts to see how other people introduce their co-hosts. If you're new to the podcast, Mark Goldhart, who's always on his phone right when we start.
No, I mean, not always.
60% of the time, all the time.
But frequently, right?
Yep. How are you?
Great.
You ready for an epic podcast?
I am.
What are we talking about today?
We could use a military analogy. You have like Navy SEALs, and you have elite military units in each branch of military, right?
Correct.
In the Marines, I think it's basically the snipers, but they also feed into the SEALs.
Yep.
They're right in the Navy SEALs.
The
in
Navy.
The Army, they have the Green Beret.
Yep.
So why am I bringing this up? It's because what do the Green Beret do that's different than the Navy SEAls? Because when you think about a Green Beret and a Navy SEAL, like you kind of think they're the same thing, right?
Well, yes, but my general, somewhat obvious answer would be is like Navy SEALs are. I know they do a lot of land stuff, but they're.
But you'd assume maybe some underwater demolition.
Primarily more stuff to deal with needing to travel via boat in some sort of stealth way mission, potentially.
Yeah, like the commercials. So what do Green Beret do? Well, they like to call themselves a force multiplier. So I don't know necessarily. I'm not an expert on this. This is just relaying some information. I don't know if they're necessarily better at hand-to-hand combat or anything like that. But what they do is like they'll plant Green Beret and embed them with communities, right? And the Green Beret are always trying to establish relationships to build up a coalition, let's say, with locals, or to establish intel with locals. And even train, they do a lot of training too with locals to establish, hey, we're not just like 10 dudes dropping off and we're going to raid a bunch of houses. Like we're 10 guys that are going to get dropped off, build some alliances, get recon, but we're also experts at combat.
Yep.
It's like the force multiplier is like you take 10, but they can turn it into 100.
Got it. Because of the community
community that they're building, like the relationships, the networks, like et cetera.
Got it.
Right, where the Navy SEALs, from my understanding, are a little bit more of the battering ram.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones they're the ones that raid. Yeah, they're the ones that got Osama bin Laden, SEAL Team 6, right?
They're the sprint, and the Green Beret is the marathon.
Is more of a marathon, yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so. Why do I bring this up in relation to e-commerce is because I think a lot of e-commerce operators and marketers try to approach everything in a sprint mindset, which has its
They're
place.
The Navy SEAL.
Yeah, like they just want to like bust in the door and get $50,000 extra of revenue.
Yes.
Okay. When in reality, you have to figure out like, if I move the right chess pieces, can I get a 2x, 3x, 4x effect?
Sure. That may not come now.
But it's
12 to 18 months from now.
Yes.
We're seeing some benefits of it.
But it's 10% lift in 3 different areas rather than 200% lift in one area.
Sure.
So like how do you create this compounding effect in your business without trying to just like blow the doors down?
All right. I think you navigated that well enough into our topic.
I think I navigated it great.
I think so. Yeah. So nicely done. So
I give myself a B.
With that said, no, I will say B plus.
B plus.
Yeah, I will say B plus. Let me tie it in. So what we want to talk about today is there are generally in e-commerce and in other businesses too, but we're talking e-commerce here is there are 4 ways generally. We call it, we think of them as 4 different buckets, and we're always going to get people who are going to argue. So shut up. about it. Like you can say, well, no, this belongs here over here. You get the point of what we're trying to make here. You'll understand the point. So there's 4 buckets that brands can focus on, these compounding effects, if we will. And we want to talk about them. So bucket number 1, traffic. Increasing and decreasing traffic is going to increase or decrease revenue. Fair enough? Easy?
Ceteris paribus, yeah.
Okay.
Which means holding all things constant.
Yes, exactly. Very good point. Conversion rate, number 2. If you increase or that decreases, once again, holding traffic constant, you're going to increase or decrease your revenue.
Revenue, yep.
The third thing is AOV, or as also known as average order value.
Correct.
If I want to take that one step further, for those of you who are still not following, what is the average total amount a customer checks out with per order?
Yes.
Okay. If that increases, what happens? You increase. If it decreases, decrease. Holding conversion rates, traffic constant. And then the third and the fourth and final one is lifetime value or returning customer, however you want to define it. Look at that.
Yeah, you could say lifetime value,
Yep.
but lifetime value is just aggregating AOV and returning
Exactly.
rates.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are 4 ways that you can look at increasing your revenue. Okay. So let's break them down and talk about them.
Yeah, let's break them down because, again, I think the mistake that a lot of people have is let's just spend more on ads.
Yes.
Or let's get 50% more revenue this year.
Yes.
Without breaking it down. It's like we talked about in the Black Friday episode, is you have to define what success looks like and then work backwards. And this is how you can work backwards without saying, hey, we're going to define success as 50% increase in revenue. But a lot of people just say, okay, let's just spend more on ads. Let's just get better at ads, or let's get better at organic or whatever it is. But that doesn't necessarily translate to real meaningful metrics. So yeah, let's jump into it.
Maybe what we should do is, if you're listening to this, I will try to do this. I'm going to create a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, and I will have the formulas in here, and you'll just be able to take your business and add your average numbers in there. On average, every month we get this many sessions. On average, this is what our conversion rate is. On average, this is what our AOV is. We'll plug those numbers in.
Yeah.
And then you can increase the efficiency in those and see what happens to your numbers. It's super easy. Anyone can create it themselves. But I can maybe create something. We'll create something fun that you can just download.
We'll just have a website.
Yeah. Just build the website.
We'll just have a page on our website you can go to, and it'll just be a calculator for you.
I like that.
So the reason why we talk about this is it's important to start understanding what compounding different things together does for your business. And it also makes things far more achievable because now they're in bite-sized bunches rather than just one massive effort.
Right. Increase revenue by 50%.
It's like, how do I do that?
That's like, oh, that's intense.
We got to sell more.
My revenue is $100,000. How do I make $150,000?
Yes.
Right.
So we're going to use really easy numbers for math's sake, and this is an audio program. I mean, I guess you can go watch on YouTube and we'll maybe have some graphics up, but we're just going to take a store with 100,000 visitors.
Sessions.
Yep.
We're going to use the sessions because that's generally how a conversion rate is calculated, is by sessions, not visitors.
On Shopify especially. Yep. So we'll take sessions. Then we're going to take a conversion rate of 1%. So 100,000
Which is
sessions,
relatively average.
1% conversion rate, and an AOV of 100 because, again, easy math to convey the point.
Love it.
Right? So if you have 100,000 sessions, 1% conversion rate, and $100 AOV, you are making how much?
$100,000.
$100,000.
Easy.
A month. Great job. You are a 7-figure business.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly.
You have to make 50% more money this year.
Yes. How do you do that?
How do you do that? So you can start diving into all kinds of fun games, right? And conceptualizations. Oh, products. Yeah. Let's release more products.
Yeah.
Let's do this, and that's all part of it, sure. But first of all, what happens if you could just increase traffic by 50%, right?
Right.
It's it's not that easy.
Right, because yeah. I mean, what Mark means by it's not that easy is it is that easy to increase traffic by 50%.
But it'll probably end up dropping your...
But it drops your conversion rate, or can very much
drop your conversion rate. Which is often what happens with companies. Like, let's just increase traffic.
I spent $50,000 more. But how come I doubled my spend, I doubled my traffic, how come my revenue didn't double?
And the answer for that is very simple. It's simply that you start pushing up, like you're outside of your niche a little bit, whatever it is. Costs increase sometimes. So it's just not that easy. And generally, if you're getting people more aware of your product, conversion rates are going to drop, because if you get more news, then your conversion rate is going to drop compared to returners.
Yeah, exactly. New customers convert at a less rate than a returning customer does.
Yes, a returning visitor.
Yeah, so especially in those first 2 months of you running a strategy like this, you're definitely going to see a...
Yeah. But if you raise it 15%... Traffic... it's a little different, right?
Yep.
You can generally get 15% more traffic without totally breaking...
Seeing a whole huge shift.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of seasonality thing happening or whatever, right?
Yeah. But or again,
economical thing.
We're gonna talk like in economic terms right here. Like when you run an economic equation, there's always more variables at play. So they use a term, it's called ceteris paribus, which is, hey, we're just gonna hold everything constant and see what happens when we change one or two variables at a time.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not gonna get into all the nitty-gritties of every possibility, but 15% increase in traffic, what does that do to your business?
Theoretically increases your revenue by 15%.
By 15%, right?
$115,000 now.
So now you're 115, so you still got a ways to go to get to 150,000.
That's the goal, yep. 50% increase, $150,000.
So what happens if we increase AOV by 15%?
Now we're sitting at... but we've done traffic.
Traffic's up 100.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so traffic is up to 115,000 sessions.
You're going to be around $130,000.
Yep. So now you're all of a sudden up to 130. That's a 30% increase. That's a big jump. And then the last part is conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you increase conversion rate by 15%?
And that puts you at 150,000.
152. Yep.
Yeah, just over 150 grand.
And that's a 50% increase.
Yeah.
And that's a lot easier to conceptualize and actually make a plan of attack to say, hey, can we increase our AOV? Realistically, can you increase your AOV by 30% tomorrow?
That's hard. Or even
that's really hard.
Or even 50%. Yeah, I mean, 15% can be challenging too, but it's so much more palatable.
Yeah, we're not saying 50% is easy.
No. Yeah.
But you can find a way to make that happen.
Yeah. Easiest thing by far is traffic. I can increase my traffic 15%. That's a very easy thing to do.
More ad creative.
Yeah.
You might spend a little bit more money, whatever.
Yeah. You know, whatever. And we'll dive into more of those ways on, like, we'll get into tactics on how to do that in a second here. But yes, so much more palatable to say, hey team, let's figure out a way to increase AOV.
Yes.
So, okay.
And in any of these categories, I think if you've been in e-com, if you're in marketing, if you're trying to reach these goals as a company, you know that it's not always easy, but man, it's a whole lot easier to say, hey, how do I get my AOV up 15%? Well, if somebody's spending $100 with you already, or $50, like you can even go to a lower AOV, let's say $50 to get someone to spend an extra $7.
That doesn't seem too crazy.
That's not crazy.
No.
If someone's spending 100 to get them to spend 115, it's not that crazy.
Right.
Easier said than done, but very possible. And there's so many tactics to do that. And like Trevor said, we'll talk about it in a minute, and then you compound all three of those and you're at 50%. And then you can now say, okay, cool. Marketing team, how do we increase by 15%? How do we get our landing pages? Like what offers do we not have right now? Do we not have a bundled, like a bundle?
Yeah.
Do we have different products? Or if we're only one product, is there a way to just say, like, there's plenty of examples where people just increase their price by 10%.
Let's start talking tactics.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with AOV tactics.
Yeah, let's go AOV first.
Yeah. Let's go AOV. So, one, which is very easy and obvious, like Mark just said, you can increase your prices. Now, this is not always, we're not saying to do that, like, because there's a customer relationship. But let me give you an example of somebody who was using Bestie.
We're not saying to do that, but you probably should.
Yeah, or there's a really good argument to make that no one's going to actually care. And let me give you a real life example of this. So we had somebody using Bestie, and they shared this data with us we thought was so cool. But I won't give out the brand name, but it is a women's clothing boutique. Is that fair enough? Now you can picture
clothing brand, yeah.
Yeah, clothing brand, exactly. And they ran a post-purchase survey, and I think it was just one question, and the question was, what motivated you to buy today? And within let's say they had 5 to 7 different responses, like, oh, I love the style or the quality or whatever it might be. One of those responses was like good pricing or something like that. Like, I bought because your prices were so good. And something that maybe a lot of you don't know what Bestie does is we have something called survey, like post-purchase survey AI insights. And what that does is it aggregates all the survey data. And then kind of like we use AI to say, hey, like here, this, X amount of people said this, therefore do this, right?
Yes.
It's actionable insights. And so what happened was it said, hey, of the, let's say 2,000 people who took this survey, less than 5% of people identified pricing as one of the main reasons that one of their main motivating reasons to purchase. Therefore, you should increase your prices by 10 to 15% because no one actually cares how low, like how low you've got your prices is not a motivating factor. So what did they do?
Like, they're buying because of the fashion.
Exactly. So they increased, I want to say was it 10% that they did it?
Yep.
And they just saw an increase in 10% in profits. Like, they didn't do any changes, but they said, hey, this is a quick way to take us from $100,000 a month to $110,000.
They also tried something else that was a big failure, and that was they took away free shipping.
Yep.
And that test failed big time.
Yeah.
But the 10% increase in price, no one noticed.
So there's ways you can do it. You can just do it and see what happens. You can do it slowly. Maybe it's only 5%. And that gets you 5% of the way to the 15%,
And also, it doesn't have to be in every order increase of 15%. We're talking about averages here.
Yeah. It can be just to your hero product.
So maybe it's also a bundle, which is if
Great
you can
idea.
get 30% of people to buy 2 of something or an additional product.
Let's use a real life example of the bundle.
You can increase also your AOV by 15%.
So we love using examples. So Mark and I used to be on the brand side for a company called Fawn Design, and they were a big motherhood company. Like primary product was a diaper bag.
Yeah.
They had kind of revolutionized back in 2016 what the diaper bag looked like. Okay. And what we did is we had an AOV. I think we were selling these diaper bags for like $170.
150, I think, at the time.
Maybe at the time, okay. Yeah. $150. But our AOV was like, let's call it 120. Okay. And we wanted to get the AOV above $145. And so what we did is we created what was called the motherhood bundle. And at the time we didn't have any of these products. So we introduced a pacifier case. So pacifier the binkies. So rather than that, like a mom tossing it in the bag and it getting lost, it was like this, had some, like microbial stuff so germs wouldn't grow in it, but a really cute case that matched the bag that was an accessory.
Yep.
We did a changing clutch, which was a diaper bag or a pad.
Changing pad.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen this. If you have a kid, you put a pad on the ground. So like their poop or their pee, just in case they start going, doesn't get on your floor or wherever. And then we introduced a bottle, an insulated bottle, like baby bottle carrier. so that it could either stay cold or stay hot. And so we took that from like $150 just the bag to, I want to say it was like $220 or $215 or
whatever.
it was just above $200. And we immediately saw, I mean, instantaneously. Now that did not become our best selling product.
No.
But what happened was,
but about 20-30% of customers wanted
all of that.
It
was a great like baby shower gift.
Right.
You know,
a lot of people bought it for baby showers.
Totally. They'd go in and like, this is perfect. Like,
they get everything they need. Yep.
It's awesome. And our AOV actually shot from like 120 to like 155. So like we increased it $10 more than I think our goal was, if I remember right. So bundling stuff, you don't have to necessarily, we added additional products to that to like really, we did some surveying to figure out what would be best. But you don't necessarily have to add like new SKUs to it. You could have products that look really good. We have a jewelry company and we do bundling where like we have these, gold studded earrings and we have a very small huggy and then a larger huggy. And so rather than just selling both of those separately, we've combined it.
Because a lot of people want both anyways.
Yeah,
and then you give a little discount, obviously, because they're buying more.
10-15% off is like if you bundle it, it's like the Costco model, right? So bundling, love it. Great way for AOV. Another really good way for AOV, unless you want to keep going on bundling, is but
let's recap really quick. So you can either just increase prices, just flat out, or you can incentivize people to buy more, through bundling. Okay.
One more thing with
and
the
bundling also kind of includes some promotions usually.
Yes.
Like if you buy this, then you get 50% off the second item or whatever.
If these were a la carte purchased,
you're going to save $40.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. The other thing that you can add to that is like you can also just like, I'm just going to toss this one. This one's just obvious. This is not the one I wanted to bring up, but you can just create another product that costs more. So maybe a lot of people will amplify their hero product and then and justify a price increase with that. So like if you don't feel like you can justify the price increase for your diaper bag, you might add like this is what happened. We actually, with the diaper bag, we ended up taking it from 150 to or 160 to 170. And it was because we had added like reinforced backpack straps that people were asking for. And then we might have also added like a handle to it.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? So that like mothers, could lift it up instead of grabbing the strap. That was really annoying. Okay. The other one I was going to say is this one used to work a lot more. So I'm not like, I don't want to make it sound like, hey, if you do this is going to work, but you can say, hey, free shipping on orders over X amount of dollars.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So if your AOV is $60, you could say, hey, free shipping on all orders over $75.
Yeah, that doesn't work as much anymore just because of the expectation that is there.
Which is most people just...
And the reality is most brands have to bake that into their cost of goods now. And... But from the consumer side, most people don't want an extra $5 added.
But there are two different types of brands that I do see this happening a lot with that don't offer free shipping, and there is in the expectation. A lot of apparel brands still don't offer free shipping, unless you hit a certain threshold, and that's just because the margins in apparel is so low.
Well, margins and the weight.
Yep. And then the same thing is, I was going to say anybody who has just a heavier product.
Yeah.
Golf bags, diaper bags.
And that's why it's just the weight.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, we're not going to offer free shipping unless you spend $250 or more. I see that kind of stuff all the time.
But so yeah, and it can work. We've seen that work recently with someone who is in a heavier item space.
Yep.
So those are just a few ideas on AOV, on conversion rate.
Nice.
How do we get people to convert 15% more of the time? Well, there's a lot of ways to do this, but the first and foremost thing that you need to start thinking about is, are you selling your product on your website or are you presenting it?
Yeah.
And
talk about that.
That's what most brands, I think, fail to understand is you are Most companies are just presenting products. It's window shopping.
Yes.
You are not convincing people to try to buy it. You are just presenting it. It's nice. You have a PDP. That's great. Whatever. Like PDPs do work a lot of the times, especially in the Shopify way.
Product pages.
But what are you doing to incentivize them emotionally that they need it or want it beyond just window shopping?
Yeah.
Okay. So
what are some ways?
Social proof is obviously a big one. So are you giving above the fold? So when somebody goes right to your page, your product page, is there any social proof verifying to them in their mind that you are a worthwhile product?
Reviews, 5 stars, actual visual testimonials.
Yeah. So it could be reviews, testimonials. It could be even
as seen ons.
As seen ons. Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
I got you.
As seen ons.
Yep.
So
there's like another way of like selling is like doing comparisons on PDP pages. If you have that type of product that can be that way. So like a good example of that would be maybe like if you're competing with AG1 or something like that, maybe you're talking about, and I say AG1 because everyone knows who that is. So if you're selling greens, that could be something very good to do is like, hey, this is what you're going to get with them. This is what you're going to get with us.
Yep.
And this is why we're so much better. Take a page out of software companies do this all the time. E-com brands are so terrified to do that kind of us versus them. But software companies like
they do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nobody cares.
Well, speaking of software, I mean this is hardware, but remember those Apple commercials of I'm a Mac and I'm a PC?
Yeah. Totally.
I mean,
with the guys, like it was like
yeah, it was that one actor. I don't remember his name, and then
he was a New Girl.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is though. I remember what his name is in New Girl, but I can't remember.
And
what
then
his name is in real life. He's kind of geeky.
Kind of like the kind of geeky PC guy.
Yeah.
Like that's a perfect example of
totally
us versus them. Yes, that's not a landing page, but it's a marketing strategy.
Yeah. Another way to do it, what Mark just said, is like you can actually create it. Like landing pages are oftentimes more designed to sell, where product pages are more designed to display.
Yes.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that because there are ways you can bolster up that to sell more on a product page, like we just talked about. But there are like specific landing pages, So for example, like these pants right here, like I love these pants, but if I remember when I bought these from Standard Issue, or when I was looking at these originally from Standard Issue and just on their product page, I thought, I don't know, like they look cool, but I don't know. But the moment I got them and like felt them, I was like, holy cow, this could be talked about so differently potentially. So creating an actual dedicated landing page that like sells that product. And so it's not necessarily an add to cart button right there at the top. It's selling people through a journey on why you should buy these pants, why you should buy a Mac computer, why you should buy that diaper bag.
And you should always be dedicating a small amount to testing that.
Yeah.
Right? Most brands don't try any kind of conversion rate optimization.
Yep.
And the reason why is because it's so easy to fail at it. I think a lot of people try it and then it's like, oh, we didn't really see anything.
Well, and it's so sometimes hard to understand. Like in e-commerce, there's so many variables. Some of the biggest ones being macro things that just like you can't control. For example, an election, the economy, gas prices, a war. I mean, like anytime things like that happen, you always see hits, in your website. Or if somebody talks about like if Elon Musk or a Joe Rogan, these voices that are like amplified voices, they could talk about like, what did I just recently hear? Was it when Twisters came out? This has nothing to do with Elon Musk or Joe Rogan, but when Twisters came out, did you see Twisters?
I did not see it, no.
So the main character, Glenn Powell, has this like epic truck that allows him to, I'm not really giving any spoilers, like drive into a twister.
Because he's a tornado chaser.
Yeah, he's a tornado chaser and he's a YouTuber. So he's not actually doing it to like benefit research. He's doing it for the views and for the clout. Like it's almost like
he's an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a rodeo guy, but for twisters. And so what he does is he like drives his like epic truck that's like decked out crazy, and he like can drill augers into the ground, so it like holds him into the ground when he drives into the twister. And I heard, I haven't researched this, but I heard that truck sales skyrocketed like for like 30 days after that movie came out.
Truck sales.
Yes, truck sales. I need to look that up. But whether it's true or not, you get the example of what I'm trying to say. There's
yeah,
these
and maybe it's just season. You know, I don't know.
Sure.
Like maybe like ice cream sales go up
So there's these macro things.
in the summer.
I'm
Maybe truck
taking
sales
way
do
too
too.
long
But anyways,
to explain why sometimes it's
there's
hard
other-
for people, because
there's
you
other
might
things
see-
impacting your business.
You might see a lift and it might actually not be because of the landing page. Or
Yes.
you might see a decrease and think, oh, well, we failed. That never works for us. When it's like, actually just the economy like took a really big hit. Gas prices went from $3.50 to $4.20.
And that's why I personally recommend for everyone to, when we talk about defining success, most people are looking at success as like a 30-day window. You have to look at things month over month and year over year. That'll help you start seeing if there's seasonality.
Quarter by quarter.
By quarter. So when you run these tests, don't just look at it as, hey, we ran this test and we didn't really see an impact. Run it as, hey, here's A versus B, and then A versus B versus last year.
Yeah. At the same time. Yeah.
Or last month.
Sure.
Right? Depending on your business. But yeah, try to look at different time frames. So yes, that's a good point.
So conversion rate optimization, what Mark is saying, and that
But
could be
15%, if it's statistically significant, a lot of people might throw
Huge.
that out as like, that wasn't really that big of a lift. And it's kind of hard to build out landing pages and whatever. But hey, a 15% conversion rate lift across the whole store. And sometimes you're going to see that lift. And what I want to emphasize is with conversion rate, very rarely are you going to see a 15% lift just because you moved social proof above the fold, but you might see a 5% lift on your PDPs by doing that.
Or maybe a 2%. And
Or
that,
2%.
And once again, that's going to get you closer to that 15.
Yes. But by sending your top funnel traffic or your new traffic to a landing page that sells, you might see another 5 or 6%, right? By doing something as they add to cart or some kind of whatever increases another 5%. So it's not, hey, we have to strike 15%, 20% increase just from one PDP change.
Yeah.
It's how do you segment your traffic and put them in the right categories and to the right placements.
I think another, CR and conversion rate optimization of anything. We're not just talking about changes on your PDP page. We're not just talking about changes on your landing page. We're talking about there's a conversion rate optimization formula, and it's if you can minimize friction, minimize anxiety, and maximize offer and timing. Those are kind of these four levers you can pull with conversion rate optimization. So anxiety also might just be like, is your website hard to navigate? Does your ad promise
and sometimes
match the incentive on the website?
And sometimes I want to emphasize this because this is just a common mistake. Sometimes what brands think are beautiful changes make your website harder to navigate.
Yeah, totally. Amazon. Think Amazon.
Like Amazon doesn't change anything for a reason. Like they're not changing anything.
Yeah.
It's not that pretty of an experience, but people use it. They know what to expect. So just remember, like sometimes beautifying something in your mind is making it harder to use for your customers.
Yeah.
So yes. So by minimizing anxiety doesn't always mean
beautiful,
correct.
Pretty. Yep. On brand. Okay. The other thing with the friction piece is like friction is something broken. Hey, this isn't working. This isn't what this is like. And a good example of this is like, I think I brought this up before. One of my very first, maybe second or third year into my marketing career, we were spending millions of dollars on driving somebody to one specific landing page. And I was brought in to do like conversion rate optimization for this company. And I spent maybe 2 to 3 hours. I mean, this happened like within a week of the job. And I noticed that on this landing page, no one was putting in, they were asking for a country as their lead gen. And no one was putting in United States of America. Like everyone was figuring like, hey, if I'm putting in Utah or Florida or California, I don't need to fill out
Why do
America.
I have to put in my country too?
Yeah. But what was happening is they would click submit and nothing would happen. But because that field was left blank, it wasn't letting the person move forward. But there was nothing helping that person know that that was the problem. So it wasn't.
And there was no reason for them to have it in the first place.
Yeah, one, you didn't need it. Two, there wasn't a box like that said this field is required or anything like that. And so I just went to the dev team. I was like, hey, can you guys just get rid of this? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And we saw a $1 million monthly increase in sales. It was a $12 million annual increase in revenue from that one thing. So it's just stupid. There are some stupid things. That's friction. Okay. I'm clicking and it's not working. I'm trying to add to cart. It's not working.
And fresh eyes can find friction too.
Totally.
Which is why don't hesitate to have your whole team go through an experience.
Totally.
Because it might be the intern who finally discovers it because she's not the one.
She hasn't been looking at things.
She's just going through it as like a new customer. You know?
New eyes.
Have your mom, dad, whatever, go through your experience.
A couple other things to raise conversion rate because I want to move quickly here because we got to get over to traffic, which is creating special offers. A lot of people have an issue with creating like special offers because they don't want to be deemed as a discount brand. Meaning like, hey, I'm constantly having a 30% offer. Therefore, it's not going to be, there's no FOMO, there's no anything like that. I think there are really interesting ways that you can have unique promos happening either randomly or just special offers around kind of like what you do with your bundle, right? Hey, you get 20% off when you bundle all of this together. I know there's a lot of brands who introduce things like, hey, at any given time, I know we do this with our jewelry company, like anyone who buys 2 pieces of jewelry automatically gets the third for free. And we have that promo running all the time and it works really, really well for it. And it's not because it doesn't turn us into a discount brand because we're asking a lot of people like, hey, you got to buy 2 pieces here, not just one.
Yeah, sometimes your AOV solution helps your conversion rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So think of special offers.
And last thing with conversion
offers.
rate, reducing friction, make your pricing easy to understand.
Totally.
So look up, there's all these psychological factors that if you just understand as a company, just Google it, just Google marketing psychology and like start digging into it, start learning about it. You'll just find out that there's all these little tricks that you can add that will, again, it's not going to go up 20, 30% overnight, but you add them all together, right, with a plan and you can get to 15%.
Yep.
So traffic.
Can I say one more thing that's going to flow into traffic, but it also does conversion rate? If you just get your returning customer rate up too, that will increase your conversion rate.
Yes.
Right. So send more emails, segment them, offer them special, unique things, send text messages out.
And don't be scared to email
create
more.
Content.
They're not seeing your emails.
No. I saw Jimmy Kim, who's the founder of SendLane.
And they're not unsubscribing either.
Yeah.
Like just send more emails.
This is the guy who owns SendLane who's kind of like trying to take on Klaviyo right now. He just comes out on Twitter and straight up is like, every good brand who's succeeding emails once a day. And everyone's like, what? It's like, I have insights into some of the biggest brands.
But I was told in 2015 not to do that.
I don't want to annoy people.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you know what? Email's been annoying for the last 15 years of our lives.
We are to the point where email is the equivalent of your mail.
Yeah.
Like, you get so much crap that comes to your house. It's just expected.
But it's still such an efficient way to do things because it's a numbers game.
Yes, it's a numbers game.
You can make things more efficient, I think. You can segment, you can have better hooks and better subject lines and better offers and reasons. There's plenty of things you can do. But no, like people aren't hitting spam on your stuff. They're just unsubscribing and unsubscribe if they're not going to buy, like, cool. Get it. Like, I don't want to waste one of my email sends.
And guess what? Most people aren't even unsubscribing.
Exactly.
They're just,
it's like
they'll glance and unread.
Like 0.1%
delete
per
it.
email.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3.
Send more emails.
All right. Traffic.
Okay, I like it. Traffic.
We already said the easy one. Increase budget.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on traffic because I think we talk about this directly and indirectly every episode.
Yes, we do.
Because this is marketing.
Yes.
Right. How do you increase your traffic by 15%? 15% in Facebook isn't a huge jump. So if you're going to spend 15% more.
In fact, you can do that in one day.
Now, of course, hopefully not all of your traffic is coming from paid ads.
Right.
Right. But to get 15% increase of traffic through paid ads is very manageable if you have the right creative mix and the right offer, right? And if you understand what is resonating with the audience.
Yep.
So if you know those things, then increasing your budget, realistically, that's going to be probably like a 30% increase in your budget because Meta's probably not driving 100% of your traffic.
Yeah.
But don't increase your budget too fast. Most people just launch through their budget or they increase it once and then say it didn't work.
Yes.
Understand, again, define success. Understand that when you're driving traffic, how many of it is new, how many of it is returning, how long does it take these people to convert? Make sure you're giving this enough time. So increase it 10, 15%, let it run for a week or 2 or 3, depending on what your variables are as a company.
Yes.
Increase it again. Once you start compounding these percentages, right? If you increase 10% and then another 10% and then another 10%, that's not a 30% increase.
Yeah.
That's like a 45% increase,
Totally.
right? Approximately. I'm not doing the math right now. But.
Right. But I get what you're saying. And I want to bring up Mark's original point about, or his like original metaphor of the specialization of a Green Beret versus a Navy SEAL versus a Ranger versus a whatever, you know. This is like a traffic thing should be your marathon. Like, yes, there are sprints with traffic, but
There's a sale.
Exactly.
Sometimes,
exactly.
yeah. Sometimes you're just going to...
It's either a sale or, hey, it's buying season. We're selling swimming suits. So yeah, crank your traffic from February to June because that's when people buy swimsuits.
Correct.
Right. So, yes. So ignore that piece. But what I mean by that is like traffic should be a marathon because there are so many other ways that you should be outside of paid search and paid social that you can be getting your traffic up. Right. And that's things like organic distribution, right? Your organic strategies in content creation.
Yeah, content, affiliates
and
creators.
Or influencers, creators. It's, there, I hate to say it because you know that I'm not like, this is not my favorite thing, but there is for some people an SEO play that works.
Yeah, there is an SEO play for some people.
Yeah. And for those of you, for context, I'm not a huge believer in e-com SEO. Unless it's a specific type of brand. There are certain brands that it works great for, and there are other brands that it just doesn't.
But there is another play with SEO that isn't just this, hey, somebody's searching and your article's showing up. It's using affiliates, right? Getting on people's, like if there's blogs or articles or whatever, and getting your name out there and increasing traffic that way, right? You're not going to increase 50%. It's usually kind of spotty doing this, but a consistent increase of traffic. But if you're consistent with it and getting in new publications, and it can be.
The other thing is this goes into kind of what I was just saying is like the type of content you create and put into your ad strategy can also help with increased traffic. And what I mean by that is right now, the dynamic of being able to pick a new audience or gamify how you media buy, it's like it's not what it was in 2018. Right? To be able to say, I'm going to test this new lookalike audience and it's going to skyrocket my impression, my CPMs or whatever. But you're creating good content that people click on, watch, spend time on, engage with. That is also going to help just increase, right? You don't have to increase your budget to see an increase in traffic.
True. And again, harder.
Totally.
Easier said than done.
100%.
But
creative is the number one way to move the needle in the paid ad game.
In the paid and organic, yes.
Yes.
And again, we're talking 15% total increase in traffic. So do the math. Break out where your traffic is coming from and say, hey, is it realistic to get 15% more in organic?
Yeah.
15% more in paid, 15% more in affiliates.
Yep.
Or do we have to get 50% more in paid
Right.
and 10% more in organic and 10% more in.
Totally.
Like, just do the math, and if you start doing the math, you'll understand really fast like how to make the right moves.
Yeah.
But good luck, everyone.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about returning customers, and the only reason we didn't talk about LTV returning customers as much is because factoring in that piece of the overall equation that we like the very simple equation we did is it gets a little bit more challenging. But a lot of the things that we talked about today, like you can take several of those insights, and that is going to help boost returning customer, right?
Yeah, retention's just it's not a different game, but we're going to have to go into email marketing a lot deeper. We briefly talked about it, but
maybe in a couple of weeks.
I do want to emphasize, if you're trying to increase conversion rate, we said this before, but we want to reiterate, sometimes the easiest way to do that is get returning customers.
By far.
Because a returning customer is often going to convert at a higher clip, or a returning visitor,
significantly,
right, than a first timer.
Yeah, if I've done the math right, and this is it's
usually 5-6
I'm gonna butcher this right.
better.
Yeah, if your average conversion rate is 1%, then you have to remember your average is taking your returners who are up here and your first timers who are down here. So
you have outliers bringing up the average.
So if you've got like a 30% returning customer rate and a 70% new customer rate, you might be at a 0.7% here, but like a 3% on the returning side.
Yes. So if you just get more of those, it'll bring the average up.
Yeah, exactly. So if you get your returning customer rate to go from 30% to 40%, then that 1% jumps from 1%. I'm not doing the math right here, but maybe to 1.3%.
Yes. And when you are doing the math, don't average averages.
No.
Always aggregate.
Yes.
And then
meaning orders divided by sessions. Don't do this is what my conversion rate was December 1st, December 2nd, December 3rd. What is the average?
What is the average of 1.7, 1.8, or 1.
Yeah. Because you're going to get the wrong answer.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. I love it.
Cheerio.
Episode 100. We are going to do some fun giveaway. We need to spend more time on that, but we're going to do some fun stuff. Very excited for that. We're going to be highlighting like favorite moments of the podcast, favorite like one-liners, favorite value props, things that happened. So it's like, if you haven't listened to the last 100 episodes, we're going to give you some of our like favorite pieces of that one. So thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys.
Go listen to 100.
We'll see you guys on episode 100. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe to the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.